We are pleased to be joined by the one and only Dan Wiederer from The Athletic, who I'm told, Dan, is this true? You're bringing the juice this morning.
Oh, yeah, I'm bringing the juice for you guys for sure. Let's go. It's Christmas Eve. We've got a playoff season on hands. It's juice time.
So, Ruthie and I were talking about this earlier, and I wanted to get your take on this because you grew up here, you know what it's like. Like, all these people are talking about how this is the beginning of something special.
Oh, boy.
And I don't disagree. On the surface, yeah, you would think you have this young quarterback who, as each week progresses, shows you more and more signs of greatness, right? And you've got an offense. I think everyone offensively is going to be back next year, right? All the key weaponry back with Caleb Williams in this system for year number 2. And you're going to have an opportunity to retool the defense a little bit. But no matter what era you started following the Bears, whether it was the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or this millennium, when have the Bears ever had a team that repeated success after a good year? No, they won one championship. But when they won in 85,
they were winning division championships year after year.
right? And they let you down, right? Like you thought this was just like people were saying with the Cubs back in 2016. This is the start of a dynasty. It was not a dynasty.
So this is where my juice comes in because I'm ready for this
All right,
conversation.
let's go, Dan.
Let's do it.
Bring
Let's
it.
go. Let's rock and roll on this. Well, two things here. So we were walking down to the locker room after the miraculous win on Saturday night, and I jokingly said to Kevin Fishbane, because the electricity was everywhere, right? Like if you were anywhere in Chicago, you felt it, and particularly just outside the locker room, you felt it. And I said to Kevin, I said, man, next year's 8 and 9 is going to be a cold glass of water to the face. And it was just a joke, right? Like, just kidding. Where you and I differ, Zach, is the sustainability question can wait for 5 weeks. NFL off seasons are really, really long. We've got a ton of time to talk about what is relevant to the long-term success of this team. Right now, what's happening with this football team gives them a chance to go win the 1 seed, go win the NFC North, go win a couple playoff games. And so right now, being present with what this team is doing gives you an opportunity to feel some of the joy that you just described as so fleeting in the city for this team. And so, like, you just lock yourself in here, and we can spend all of February talking about all these other big picture questions. We can talk about how Ben can use his, stamp on things to create everything that goes along with this. But what you described to me right there is what the NFL doesn't do a good job of letting spectators understand, and it's how difficult succeeding in this league is. There's a psychological stamina with all of this that I think is going to be tested to huge levels by the Bears. But again, right now, locked in here with this game coming up Sunday with 2 11-win teams on primetime playing for a chance to skip the wild card round in the playoffs. I mean, man, it's a dream come true for Chicago.
Yeah, Dan, so with that being said, the 49ers are a tall task at hand, especially after the way I think everyone watched them play on Monday night. Seems like they're clicking on all cylinders. Kyle Shanahan, another guy whose name should be in the mix for Coach of the Year with what he's been able to do with the hand he's been dealt this season. What will be the biggest challenge for the Bears on Sunday night football? Sunday night football, prime time. What will be the biggest challenge in California?
It's defensively figuring out ways to slow down an offense that looks like a wagon right now. I mean, the 49ers did what they did on Monday night, but they've been doing it for a long time. This is one of the quietest 11-win teams that I've ever seen in the NFL. They've had no sort of buzz or publicity around them, and they've got every possibility of being the last team standing in the Super Bowl. They are explosive offensively. You look at McCaffrey, I think that's probably where you start when you're putting together a defensive game plan. He's got 1,900 yards from scrimmage and 16 touchdowns this season. And Purdy's playing the position at a high level right now. And he's got, some flaws, and he'll give the football away here and there. And the Bears obviously have a defense that's been takeaway dependent this year. And so you can maybe find a way to swing a game there. But man, you're gonna have to be ready on every single possession to know just how locked in this team is, and they've got a flow going right now offensively that's really, really difficult to slow.
So, what kind of tactics can Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen use to make sure that the Bears are in the game for the first 58 minutes?
I mean, that's it every week because that's all they need, honestly, and that's what's crazy about this team, Zach. And I know you've been around other teams where that magic has been there, and that concept of belief, which we will debate up and down on text threads left and right with this team, comes into play. But you do just need to keep the game within reach and then try to let that take over late. I think taking care of the football is a big deal. I don't think San Francisco has done a great job this year of taking it away from opponents. Caleb has done a wonderful job of keeping it away from his opponents, and so that's a big part of this. And then you've just got to find a way. I think this team has to find an answer to get started offensively quicker. Obviously, that was a problem again against Green Bay. It feels like it's almost like a 2-month issue right now that they haven't been able to solve.
Why?
Eventually, that's going to come back and bite you.
But why?
I don't know. Like one of the great mysteries of this team right now is why Caleb Williams can't find that extra level of playmaking flair that he has in the final minutes of games, in the first few minutes of games. Like you've got to find an answer to that. That is one of the tickets to sustained success for this team, and they're going to have to find an answer. I know that they've been pushing to find an answer, and they just haven't been able to get themselves rolling at the start of games.
With that being said, Dan, the Bears actually did get off to a nice start on Saturday night. That first drive was nearly spectacular until that 4th-and-1 play call. So maybe they can sort of pick that apart this week and say, okay, we did some really good things here with our first 15. We just got to finish that drive.
And then the old whoopsie play happened, right? And
whoopsie.
Yep. I don't know if Ben Johnson would be a little more forthright today than he was on Saturday night about kind of going to that play in that situation. I get it. Like I understand that you've unlocked some things on film that lead you to believe you've got a look there, but I just in that situation, I'd prefer to lean into a play that you've run.
Right.
I know you've repped it in practice, and look, I'm not one to sit here and shoot holes in Ben Johnson's resume. He's much more accomplished than I at calling plays in the NFL. But you're right, Ruthie, they did have a really nice drive there that kind of had Soldier Field, amped up, and then it deflated because of the 4th down failure there. And so, I'm sure there's some answers there that you can apply going forward. And then you're just gonna have to see again what the health of this receiving core is as we get out to practice later today, because even on Christmas Eve, the Chicago Bears are still at work.
Dan Wiederer from The Athletic is with us as we talk Bears here on the Mully Haugh Show on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score, alongside Ruthie Polinsky, Zach Zaidman with you. I know you keep talking, and I heard Ruthie do this. You've done it, talking about the receivers that weren't on the field against Green Bay, but the Bears still had some pretty good receivers out there, or pass catchers out there, not necessarily with the title wide receiver. And I thought Caleb, when he got locked in late in the game, was able to use those weapons. And I think the thing that, and there's been so many puzzling things about this season, so many exhilarating things, but to me, one of the most puzzling things is you saw what kind of a weapon DJ Moore can be. You know what kind of a weapon Cole Kmet can be. Why can't Caleb connect with those guys more often, in addition to what he's done with Loveland and Roma Dunze when he's been out there, and Burton?
It's starting to come around with DJ, obviously, and it took some attrition to the receiving core to get that rolling in that direction. And you would think that maybe some of the momentum that DJ's built up these last couple weeks will carry forward. And overall, you've got a young quarterback with a new coach and a new system, just trying to get himself settled. And so, look, like we can all agree, all three of us can sit here and agree that Caleb Williams is flawed as a quarterback right now. We can all agree that he is not a tier 1 star at this point in his career, but there are undeniable signs of the growth and improvement he's made since last January, since last March, since September. And that's what you latch onto, because you see the direction this is going and you believe that momentum can continue, right? Like it's going to have to continue in 2026, but Caleb has made an incredible amount of growth in some of the finer points of playing quarterback, which starts with being able to command a huddle, right? And do that successfully, efficiently, urgently, get to the line of scrimmage, understand what you're seeing, know where the answers are in plays. One of the next step is being able to take the plays that are designed and execute those and not have to rely on kind of extending plays so often. And that's going to be something that the Bears will certainly focus on. Right now, they're obviously doing well enough to win 11 football games to put themselves within a victory of taking the North guys, and then we'll see if they have any intentions of giving it back.
Shameless plug there. Take the North podcast. Dan, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the Pro Bowlers. Obviously, Drew Dahlman, so exciting for his first. Joe Tooney, the veteran perennial Pro Bowler, and then Kevin Byard to do it at his age. I think we can all agree that they were all deserving, but also wanted to get your thoughts on who maybe should have also been on that list from the Bears.
First of all, Ruthie, shameless plug is my middle name, so that's going to be something that's going to occur regularly with me. So here we go with that. Let's start with the interior offensive lineman that made the Pro Bowl here, because my God, what a story this is. And again, we were talking yesterday at House Hall about how the Bears walked into the 2024 season in training camp, and they were hoping that they had an interior offensive line of Coleman Shelton, Tevin Jenkins, and Nate Davis that could take them to a new level, right? Like, you compare that to what they're dealing with right now with Dahlman and Tooney and Jonah Jackson, and you go, oh my God. Like, I think between the three of those guys, they've missed maybe 8 snaps this year, right? Like, and that reliability element as a starting point is enormous for this team. And it's really cool to see that come together and create the cohesion. So very well deserved there. There's been so many people within the building who have said how kind of boring it is to play with Joe Tooney because he just doesn't make mistakes and he always plays, and he's just just a guy that you can count on at all times. On the topic of guys that didn't make it, I think in Deshaun Wright, everybody agrees that, man, you hope that there are some postseason honors coming for him, because the season he's had under the circumstances that he's had them it's incredible. And I know, Ruthie, you've spent some time around him. What a great kid. What a really focused, grounded, humble dude to be able to put together this kind of emergence to his career. He's going to get paid this offseason, and we'll see if that's by the Bears or not. But man, it's just one of the great stories within a whole storybook of stories for this team this year.
It's remarkable, actually, when you start thinking about it. I feel like every move they made, Dan, during the offseason turned into a home run, starting with the hiring of Ben Johnson, the staff that he brought with him, the draft picks, the free agent signings. When you look, again, there haven't been many years where the Bears have been successful this millennium. But, prior to 2006, last time they made the Super Bowl, they drafted Devin Hester, Daniel Manning, Mark Anderson, who was a big-time pass rusher that year, and they had an immediate infusion of talent that year. Think how many draft picks the Bears have had since you started covering the team, where you haven't even had impact ever, let alone the first year. And that's what you're getting this year.
Why don't you pull up the list and we'll go through some of the bigger headaches, right? Like we'll go through the years and years of draft classes where you're like, oh man, whatever happened to Brock Vereen? Where did Ego Ferguson go? And like it hasn't worked out. And look, like there's been rookie classes before that have looked impressive after year one, and by the time you get to the decision-making process on whether they're going to stick around for a second contract, you're like, that class wasn't great. But this looks like a group that's built to last, and so you lean into that. I've been really, really impressed with Loveland's development, particularly after he missed so much of the offseason coming back from shoulder surgery. You feel like you've got a guy there. Mm-hmm. I know Ben feels like he's got a guy, and so that's like as important as anything, because that's going to get unlocked to a new level in 2026. And I'll tell you just a little story about the coaching staff, because when we were at the Combine last winter, and you're kind of wandering the halls there and people are running India, there was a day where there were 4 different people in the league, whether it be other coaches or executives, that said, look out now, you guys got a really good staff there in Chicago. And it was the names of Al Harris and Eric Bieniemy and Antoine Randall L. And like there were people around the league that are like, Ben has surrounded him, and Dennis Allen, obviously, and that he surrounded himself with a staff that's going to be able to help him get off to a good start. And to watch that sort of crystallize here over the last several months, it's been pretty cool to see.
I love that. And you bring up Dennis Allen. I'll be curious to know sort of the way to attack Brock Purdy. I know we talked about it a bit, but Dan, when you look at this defense and the way that they take the ball away, you sort of have some concerns about the other statistical categories when you think about this team making some sort of playoff run. Is any of that fixable? I know we'll wait to see sort of the update on CD Gardner Johnson, as well as, been mentioning Kyler Gordon potentially coming back, but not having someone in that nickel position this weekend, does that concern you?
For sure. Bottom five defense right now in yards allowed per play. And like you start playing some of these really talented quarterbacks and high level offenses in the playoffs, and you've got a very small margin for error, and that stuff's going to bite you if you can't take the football away at the rate that you've taken it away all season. I think the one thing to look at is they're about as close to whole defensively as they've been since camp began, right? Like you got Jalen Johnson back. Now TJ and Tremaine are back. You're starting to get Pro Bowl caliber play from Montez Sweat up front, both as a pass rusher and a run stopper. And so you do feel some of that momentum building. It's still going to be a defense that's flawed when you go into the postseason. And again, like everybody understands how narrow that ledge is when you're in the postseason and how any small mistake on any small drive can lead to the end of your season. And so the Bears are going to have to deal with that. But certainly they feel like they've got some more health on their side as they go into January.
And Dan, I read earlier from you, they've got belief. So when you have belief, what more do you need?
I'm interested to hear the 8 o'clock hour when you and Ruthie talk about the component of belief, and then I can just shout at my radio for a while while I'm getting the house ready for the day. But
no, that was at 7 o'clock. You missed it. Yeah,
okay, then I'll tune in on my drive up to Hallis later. But I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, and you can downplay it all you want, but I've been around teams like this. I've been in a past life covering college basketball, and there's I always bring up the 2010 Duke team that had no business winning a national championship, but they did so with two qualities that really impressed me. It was like the presence on every day and understanding what needed to be done that day to win the next game on the schedule. This Bears team is like that. And then just the ability to be so poised and so confident in late game moments. It's a differentiator. And the Bears have that differentiator this year. 7-2 is not an accident. 2 or 3 wins at the end of games is maybe, you say, oh, that's pure luck and it's a little bit fluky. 6 of them, that's a trend. And that trend you hope to continue through the rest of this regular season. And then obviously as far as you can go into January.
We got to go. But I do agree with you from this standpoint. I think luck has put them in a position where they can display that late game skill. You can't explain how some of this stuff happens, but what you can explain is that any time they get an opportunity to pounce, they do. And that's what's made this team this year so special, and which is why I was talking about the future. When you have one of these years, which you really can't explain, don't squander it, because we've seen many Bears teams over the years not be able to take advantage, thinking that there was a long line of success waiting after the year. You don't know if that's going to happen. Take advantage this year. Something special is brewing.
2 really quick things, because I know you got to run.
Yes.
After 2006, they went 9-7 and 7-9, and in the next 2 years, 7-9, 9-7 back to back. And then after 2018, it was 8-8 and 8-9. So we understand what's on the other side of this a lot. Psychological stamina part of this thing is going to be enormous. I want you also both to know that you have open invitations to come on Take the North whenever you want, and we continue these discussions for as long as we want, because we don't have breaks.
I've told Dan that we'll do it in Santa Clara, not this week.
Oh, Radio Row, maybe?
Yeah, perhaps.
We might have 3 trips to Santa Clara in the next 2 months.
Oh my goodness, could you imagine?
I can't imagine.
Right.
It's a good thing to imagine.
It is a good thing to imagine.
Yeah. Dan, thank you so much. You brought the juice.
All right, guys.
You brought the energy,
Happy
Dan.
holidays.
You lived up to it. Thanks, Dan.
Guys.